In recent decades, BMW has not shied away from controversy when it comes to design. Do you remember the BMW X6? When that was released, everybody lost their minds. Even if we go back to the Bangle design era, everybody lost their minds. Fast forward now to the present day in the Hoydonk era, and guess what? Everybody's still losing their minds.
BMW's chief designer, Adrian van Hooydonk, was quoted saying that good automotive design should elicit a response, be that good or bad. Indifference to aesthetics is what is criminal.
Well, thankfully, I'm not going to be locked up today because, believe it or not, I like the design of this car. The rear to me looks like a BMW 8 Series, which is like somebody telling me that I look like Idris Elba. I'm not going to complain. From a design perspective, these clean lines that follow one another really make the car look futuristic. But as good as that is, I'm not too sure if they pulled off the coupe element of it that well. But if I go down on my haunches and I look at it from this angle, it kind of looks like a squashed X6. Would be remiss not to mention the... Sorry guys. Hi George. Yes, I literally need half an hour. Yes, I promise. Okay, thanks. Sorry guys, that was George Foreman. He's just looking for his grill. With cars getting bigger and bigger and subsequently more expensive, the new BMW 2 Series Gran Coupe is essentially a young man's 3 Series, as it surprisingly shares very similar dimensions to the E90 3 Series. So how does that translate to the interior packaging? Well, let's find out as I'm freezing. The first thing you'll notice are pillarless doors, which makes sense because they call it a Gran Coupe, even though it's a 4-door. Anyways, another thing you'll notice is that these doors don't open up very wide. So if you're a young family with a small child, getting a baby seat in and out of here might prove to be a bit difficult. When you are sitting inside, for an average sized person like myself, you will have enough space depending on how many people are sitting with you. If it's just 2 of you, you're sorted. You can simply put your armrest down and have a jaw. But if there are 3 of you here, it might be a bit cramped. When it comes to legroom, again, you've got more than enough space. But one compromise that comes from these coupe sedan setups is headroom. And again, I'm a normal sized person, but there are tons of people who are taller than me. So if I can do this and touch the roof with my head, imagine if you're 6 foot.
The 2 Series Gran Coupe's boot has a capacity of 430 litres, which is actually 50 litres more than the 1 Series it's based on. Although its German counterpart, the Mercedes-Benz CLA, can swallow 30 litres more, registering at 460 litres.
On the inside, you'll find a spitting image of the BMW 1 Series interior. This is the new CI, which is ergonomically friendly, it's clean cut and it's modern. In terms of design, you do lack the pizzazz that you'd get in the likes of a Mercedes CLA. But that being said, the build quality here is much better. All the materials feel premium and quite nice to touch.
And because our particular unit is spec'd with the M Sport kit, it comes with the leather steering wheel, dorsal M designations, and sport seats. We have the optional Dakota leather package with black and blue contrasting stitching. Other options include BMW's Park Assist feature and a panoramic sunroof.
So what's on offer in the new BMW 2 Series Gran Coupe? Well, starting you off, you've got a 218i, and then you've got a 220 diesel, and then of course the top of the range M235i. We are in the middle of the range right now in the 220 diesel, so we have got a 2-litre diesel engine producing 140 kilowatts and 400 newton meters of torque. And for many people who have loved BMW and have driven many of these cars, you'll know that this is a tried and tested engine in both reliability and fuel consumption. So 400 newton meters is more than enough torque, but the only difference with this car and older BMWs is the way it puts that power down. Yes, this car is front-wheel driven, which has got many BMW enthusiasts up in arms. And on the surface, you might think that it's not an important thing, but driving this car, I can understand why you'd get frustrated with this setup. For instance, if I put my foot flat now, you can feel this front wheel scrub, and there's a bit of torque steer in the steering wheel as well. It almost feels like an animal trying to take a corner too quickly. It's not the sure-footedness we're used to in a BMW. So from that perspective, you can understand why many people are a bit sad that we don't have rear-wheel drive anymore. From my perspective, it's easy for me to be critical of this car because I have grown up with the brand. I have driven a number of BMWs, so you're used to how the cars drive. But if you're newer to the brand and you simply want something stylish that's going to take you from A to B, this car ticks many of those boxes and surpasses what you'd want out of a car like this. So from that perspective, if I take myself out this situation and I look at it from a consumer point of view, this car does make a lot of sense, and you can understand why BMW have gone the front-wheel drive route. But it's here on the highway where the 220D really comes into its own. This is the kind of vehicle you want for long road trips, as you've got all the torque you need and you've got great fuel consumption. We've been driving around the city all day and we've only just gotten onto the highway, but I'm already averaging 7.7 liters per 100, which is pretty good. It may not be the claim figure, but I'm sure the more we carry on driving, the more we'll get closer to those figures. But one thing that needs to be mentioned is how refined this engine is. Sitting inside this cabin, you wouldn't think that I'm in a diesel. There's no noisy clunking and clattering. Instead, it's quiet and it's comfortable. Overall, the new BMW 2 Series Gran Coupe is a vehicle we can recommend. It certainly is a lovely car, and yes, the looks may be polarizing, but if you've never driven a new BMW before and you jump into this, you and BMW's accountants are going to love it. However, if you've grown up knowing the ultimate driving machine, you might be a bit disappointed.